Hello again. This is now Tarot List number 118, and a couple of things today. One is I watched another video with Jeff Bezos, and the interviewer said to him, the reason I'm telling you this is because I think we can learn or we can pick up ideas about the tarot and how to read cards everywhere all the time if we're paying attention. And if we've got in the back of our mind that we want to learn more about the tarot. I don't think it's so much about reading books and learning meanings. It's more becoming flexible within your own mind and your own thinking. And so the interviewer said to Jeff Bezos, what happens at a meeting if a junior member of staff, let's say a senior member of staff has an idea that he thinks is good and wants to promote, and the junior member says, I don't think that's very good, it's not going to work. So how do you handle a situation like that? And so Jeff said he thinks that most people are not truth seekers. We don't want basically to know the truth. And so the junior member of staff might have spoken correctly that the plan is not going to work and it's not very good. But people don't want to hear the truth a lot of the time. And Jeff said that most people are mainly social animals. And the expression he used was, we go along to get along. We cooperate with people or we agree with them, even if we don't really mean it. We agree with them just so we can get along. Things are much better, things are much easier and more pleasant, more peaceful if you agree. So people, if you think about that with a reading, let's say you do a reading for somebody and what you say doesn't go over that well or they don't like it, then it's maybe not that you're a bad reader. Maybe they're just a social animal. And they didn't want to hear the truth. So the next time somebody objects to what you're saying in a reading, remind yourself of what Jeff said. Maybe you're dealing with somebody who is mainly a social animal, and maybe you back off a bit and are less truthful. Because it can be that the tarot always tells the truth. I'm not sure if we've ever thought about that maybe the tarot is always right. Whether we see it and agree with it or not, maybe the tarot is always right. It always tells you the truth about a situation. But that can be hard. It can be uncomfortable to deal with the truth. And so if you think back to the reputation of the tarot over the decades or centuries, it was known as the devil's picture book. And it can be that people using divination or people using cards would or were able to tell the truth, but it wasn't welcomed a lot of the time, and especially not by the authorities, because if you've ever gone out to dinner with somebody, it's kind of easy. Where do you want to go? Let's go in Italian or French or whatever it happens to be. If you get three people, just three, and try to get everybody to agree, it can be really difficult. So 2 is okay. 3 can be difficult. Imagine if you've got 40 people all trying to agree on what to do. It can be impossible. So it's much easier if you've got a large group of people, like a country or a city or a workforce, to get them to be obedient. So somebody at the top says, do this, and it's much easier for everybody to agree, and it's easier for the management if the workers or the workforce will just agree, and we can do it because we're social animals. But I think it can be that with the tarot, you're dealing with the truth. And as Jack Nicholson said in A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth. There's a line in my favourite singer, Bob. I won't say his second name in case YouTube decides that it's copyright infringement. But one of the writings he had was advice to somebody on their birthday, and it was stay in line, stay in step. People are afraid of others who are not in step with them. It makes them look foolish to themselves for being in step. And so the word foolish was there. So maybe that reminds us of the fool. Something else to consider about the nature of the fool, that it's important to be in step with other people. And so if the fool is upright, you will find other people who are in step with you. You'll find a team or a group that you can work with. Whereas if the fool is upside down, either you are out of step with the rest of the members, or you can't find other people to agree with you. That may be an idea that we would remember when it comes to the fool. However, somebody emailed me and wanted to know, somebody asked a question and he wasn't sure if it was a real question, if it could be answered. So it had to do with somebody who had had a shock. And so maybe if you've got a questioner who tells you about something that shocked them or upset them greatly. So let's say you go to a doctor and he says you've got 6 months to live. That's a shock. Or something else happens. You discover that your husband or wife has been married before and they've got another family and you never knew about this. Something big and shocking. What do you do? Do you answer their question or not? And so I think what you do is you obviously decide what you're comfortable with. If you don't want to answer it, you say, I don't answer that kind of question. Maybe what you do instead is you say something like, I don't normally answer that type of question because I'm not a therapist, I'm not a specialist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not all sorts of things. But if you really want to know, and you're an adult, if you really want to know, I'll pick a card and tell you what comes up, and we can take it from there and see how it works. So what you're doing is you're sort of coming into an agreement with the questioner about the answer or about the card that you're going to choose, but you're saying, I don't normally do this, so I'll tell you what the card is and tell you something about it, but then I'm going to leave it up to you to decide if you want to follow through or not. So maybe what you do is, I had written as well, so let's say the question is, my husband or my wife, I discovered that they've been married before and they've got other children. What do I do? And so you pick a card and you get the Page of Cups reversed. So what do? You act, The other thing I thought was, if the card is upright, it means do this or be like that. If the card is upside down, it means don't do this or don't be like that. And there is in English an expression about sins of commission and sins of omission. So you can make a mistake by taking action. You can also make a mistake by not taking action when you know you should. And that's a sin of omission. And maybe a reverse card points to not doing what you know you ought to do, or not having the courage to do something that would be valuable or that would be useful. So with that in mind, I discovered my partner has another family with grown children. What do? Don't be like the Page of Cups. The page has got a fish in a cup. So vivid imagination, imagining the worst, imagining all sorts of things going wrong, and imagining all sorts of things about it. So what do you do if you find out about the partner and the extra family? You don't let your imagination run riot. Maybe what you do is you tell the partner and have a discussion about it. You don't let your emotions, because it's water, you don't let your emotions grab you and run away with you and control you, because the page is upside down. And also it's a page, right? You get kings, queens, knights, and pages represent young people because they're younger than a queen or a king. So maybe the point is, you're 50 years old, you're not a teenager discovering that your boyfriend has been seeing somebody else. So you're older and ideally wiser. So treat the knowledge or the new knowledge in a mature, serious way, and don't act as if you're 18 or a teenager and get carried away the way teenagers get carried away. Whereas if we get a card like the Two of Batons, so the partner's got an extra family, what do I do? Be confident, be optimistic, because the person's on top of a high tower or a high building looking into the distance. Maybe what you do is, because it's a good card and it's upright, you will be able to make good use of this knowledge, or be able to survive the shock, or you're going to be able to grow from the experience, only because it looks like the fellow's got the world in his hand, so he is going to be successful. And if you think about the nature of the question, it has to do with somebody with a secret family. Success when it comes to knowing about a secret family is different from success when it comes to starting a business or having a baby or being able to get pregnant to have a baby. So you think about what does success look like for you, the questioner, when it comes to would success be that the partner tells you about the hidden family or the secret family, or would success be that you get to know these other people and welcome them into your current family, so that the family that you thought had only 4 people in it is suddenly got 8, and it's bigger and ideal, and it will be better. So you ask the questioner what they think a successful outcome would look like. Because you began by saying, okay, I don't normally answer this kind of question, and I'm not sure what exactly to do about it, but this is the card that I got, and this is what it looks like. I pass the question back to you. What do you think you should do about it, given that there ought to be confidence and optimism, and what can you do to get something good out of the shocking news? Because it's a good card and it shows success. Do you know what I mean? It's like upright is telling you do this, and upside down is saying don't do this or don't act like that. So again, the Ace of Batons again. So what have I got here? The Hierophant. I look at the Hierophant, I don't quite know what to say, and this is mainly because I don't know what the question is. If I've got an actual question, I can relate what's going on in the picture to the question that was asked. And because because a major trump and upright, you learn a good lesson from this piece of information or this new knowledge that you've got. And maybe what it's doing is there's something about, if you learn a lesson and you learn it thoroughly or properly, you don't need to learn it again. But if you get the chance to learn a lesson and you don't take it, it's going to come back in some other way or through another person or another situation. Because it can be that let's say this is the questioner, if you're meant to be the Hierophant or the pupil down here, it depends what you mean by the Hierophant. Let's say the Hierophant represents somebody who helps other people get started. And so this the shocking news is so that you can learn how to help other people handle a shocking situation, because you just had a shock. And if you figure out what to do, how to benefit from it, or how to get something good out of the situation, then you don't need to go through it again for yourself. But now you've got knowledge that you can pass on to family or friends who have or face a similar kind of shock, because we can look at life as a series of lessons that we're meant to learn. And if we're learning the lesson, things keep flowing and keep going. If we're not learning the lesson, then we suffer or we struggle or it comes back or it keeps happening until we get the point, until we learn the lesson. Okay, that was it. And so I can't think of anything else to say, so I'll finish. Have a good day. We'll talk to you in a few days. Okay, bye-bye.